Hello, folks, and welcome to the public hearing to receive public comments on the next steps for the initiated Aquatic Village study, transportation study. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, folks. Joe, do you want to give kind of a quick recap before we open up for public comment?
Sure, Madam Chair. We're here tonight to talk about the BOS Village Transportation Feasibility Study that was locally initiated by the town of Rangeley. It's a partnership with BOT. The town was interested in this because it's outlined in our downtown revitalization plan. Elements of that include improving vehicular traffic, bicycle and pedestrian systems, appearance in the villages, signs, sidewalks, street lights, and landscaping. Most of you, I think, have heard of this before. You've been to the presentations. Really, this is broken into 4 or 5 different sections. The 4 and 16 parking lot working west from there. So the first group, the first section, really financially, is from there to Rumford Road. But if you think of the sidewalk going from that parking lot to the bridge, and the bridge is its own section by bridge, I mean, on the north side of it, thinking an extension for pedestrians. Then it would go from Rumford Road, and then from Rumford Road to the post office, and the final leg of it is from the Haynes Lane parking lot to the boat launch of Haynes Lane. It has sidewalks, access management features, which are curb cuts in some of the parking lots. There's some elements in the plan to talk about street lighting, so streetscapes, I should say, kind of the shorter black light poles that would go next to the sidewalk. And the study also touched on undergrounding or reconfiguring, if you will, the overhead utilities in downtown Wausau. That's something that's been outlined in our comp plan, in the downtown plan as a goal. So there were 3 options for that. 2 of those were deemed not feasible by CMP, but option 2 was still had some level of feasibility to it. So something that needs to be figured out going forward. But tonight, the board would like feedback from the public about what your thoughts are on next steps. DOT is present here tonight to talk about funding. Matt Drost is here. He's with us. He's been our partner with this since the inception when we got this rolling. So that's the background, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Did the board have any comments or anything before we open up to public comment? So I just wanted to state where I think our position is at this point. We've expended municipal funds on this study, which has now brought to light some safety issues that need to be addressed. We have essentially received notice, if you will, as a result of being provided the details within this study. So that's kind of the direction I think we're looking at going forward. Great. I will open up the floor to comment. We want to hear from Matt first. How about Matt? I'll let you take it first.
All right.
And then I bet that prompts some comment.
Yeah, maybe so. I thank you very much. I just wanted to offer a quick, I suppose I'll stand, still have an eye shot of the camera. That we can talk some about funding. The department has a couple of different opportunities, and I understood more today about what, how the department sees partnering with Rangeley on this project if you choose to move forward. A congressionally directed spending request, or formerly known as an earmark, to the federal government might work well for this particular project, and I think that's the position the department would be in to support the total project cost at 80% federal level, and then split the 20% local share between the state and the town. And it would obviously require some direction from the board and a request to the department to continue pursuing that project together. The applications for those are expected in March or April, as they have been for the last couple of years. So that's the funding piece of it that Joe mentioned. I can also try and answer other questions if there are any, about the department's position on the scope of the whole project, the history behind it. And I certainly don't want to appear as though I'm sitting here listening in to your public comment. I can try and answer questions and then head out at some point if we want to continue to discuss.
No problem at all, Matt. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Yeah,
being
you're
here. I do want to just clarify something you just said.
Sure.
The 80-20 that you just discussed was
Yeah.
full project, full scope,
That's
correct?
right.
Not if we piecemealed it, not if we took it in sections.
No, that is correct. Yeah, if certainly the town could decide to do that, it makes it certainly more difficult. The funding for each element of that is at the discretion of well, you to pursue, the town to pursue with DOT through some of our different funding mechanisms. Might make it challenging, and your competition for the limited resources we have would be stretched pretty thin. The way I see it, congressionally directed spending project would be would work is to take the project with some details to be figured out, but the project as a whole that allows for some sort of transformative change, holistic change to the village, improvements, safety improvements, as you mentioned, at the whole scale. Yeah, for sure. And it would be a department-led effort with our congressional delegation. So you not only have our support, but our ability to write and petition with an application.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
2 questions. How much money has or will be expended of municipal funds to date, and what are the direct safety concerns?
To date, Madam Chair, the town has expended just under $80,000 for the study. 50% of that is reimbursable by DOT. Matt has most, I think he has all the receipts now.
I think I do. Yeah.
Working through reimbursement, so the town will get 39,000 and change back from DOT. So
And
the
the
town's
safety-
direct cost was 40,000, Madam Chair.
And the immediate safety issues, and I have one more question after that. Thanks.
No problem. So the immediate safety issues, the way I interpreted them from reading the study was mostly the sidewalks. That's what I saw as the immediate safety issues. I'm not sure if anyone else saw. Yeah.
The handicap accessibility in the landing areas were one of the things in terms of like federal compliance that I picked up on when reading this. But I actually have a question too, Madam Chair, thank you. And Matt, for you.
Sure.
I had the same question that Madam Chair had as well about the totality of the project.
Yeah.
You know, for the 80% being federally funded. But from my understanding, this is like an analysis or a review to actually have a workable, actionable plan.
Mhm.
There still could be changes to it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this is roughly a 10% or so plan. This is a really concept level, planning level. It was done by engineers. There is some technical merit to what you see there, but certainly there are a lot of design features that need to be determined, and certainly some options around how access management could work, what exactly is there. I think the real point in safety issues as they are holistically is if only part of a project is built, for example, a sidewalk from point A to point B, and then allows pedestrians into an open parking lot, that could create an even larger safety concern and be detrimental to the safety of the entire village and the movement of pedestrians and other folks using active transportation modes throughout. And for that matter, even the direction of where cars can come and go from the businesses and the locations that are there. So that's I think, trying to answer your question there.
And just one more quick question, regarding safety. I note that the bridge is 70 years old, the platform of it, at least that's what I read, and that it's considered in fair condition. Is that a big piece of the safety concern for that area? I mean, I know they said it's conceivable that it could last for another 20 years, maybe, something
Sure.
around there.
Yeah, certainly the structure that's out there has some life left to it, and that's why I think the study indicated some alternative options and adjacent structure or some other options there. There are certainly safety concerns about getting pedestrians from where the boat parking is currently to the landing, which is on one side of the bridge, but anyone utilizing that parking to access the downtown area doesn't have a safe way across that bridge now.
So you're focusing mostly on shared streets, so bicycle, pedestrian, you know, in a symbiotic relationship with cars.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, if the desire of the community is to encourage folks to visit, recreate, shop in the Aquatic Village, allowing pedestrians to move throughout that village safely is definitely a key component of that. The study itself didn't generate, I know there was some active transportation with bicyclists specifically have an interest in biking throughout the area, having protected or separated facilities for a bike, not necessarily what the consultant heard from the community, but allowing people to walk throughout or move at a human powered, you know, level scale was what was heard.
Thank you.
Sorry, Wes had his hand up first. I'm so sorry, Mike.
Absolutely.
So you know, excuse me, I haven't seen the plan, this is my first time looking at this. On the topic of sidewalks, where are we talking about installing sidewalks?
So short of having the plan in front of you, Wes, I don't know that I can simplify. Do we have a copy that we can pull up on the, yeah. Right there.
So if we started that parking lot, Madam Chair, at 416, that's all the way on the right-hand side of the screen, right there. That's existing, the town owns that. And let me see if I can point this out. This is a proposed sidewalk. The lighter blue is the sidewalk itself, the dark blue is the curb. And here's the crosswalk that Matt was just talking about. That would get folks across to the existing boat launch. And then if you go from here, you see, we looked at alternatives. One of them was the fish screen, which is dead issue. We don't like that idea, Sunset. But up here is the proposed, I call it an extension, but it's a separate structure. This is the most expensive part of the whole proposal. It's $3.3 million, this bridge extension. And then that would connect over here on the other side of the river, stays on the north side. And this is after feedback from the June meeting, the consultant updated this for us. So proposed sidewalk stays on this side to the building formerly known as Gingerbread House here. Let me see if I can find the next.
Can we speak while he goes over the plan? Is that possible?
It's okay with me, it's okay with the chair.
Maybe there's things to do, and Wes, I'm sorry, but put the plan in front of you, we've all been working on it for 6 months. Sorry.
Mike, your comment, sir.
It's kind of a plan.
I feel, I don't know how we approved the money to spend 80,000 in this plan already, which bothers me a little bit. You talk about putting pedestrians in the parking lots, but you're talking about a bike path. Building $3 million on a bridge for a bike path, we don't have bike routes anywhere in town. So you're gonna bring them over a bridge and then spill them out on 16 or Route 4. So you're gonna make the bridge wider, but yet they're on a bike path going up Route 4. The whole plan is absolutely insane. And I think we need to stop and regroup if we spend another $80,000. I know you have money to spend from the federal government, but maybe we all should just stop spending a little bit of money because it's not necessary. They've only been there for 57 years. It's really not a huge problem. We have a few minor pickups between High River's Edge, by the store, some drainage issues, some lighting issues, but not this study is one of the issue. And I understand a lot of people get paid if it's a larger project, but that's not the way it works with us. And we put input, I put 2 plans in and I've never seen them brought up at any meetings. My sister and I spent weeks going over, doing pictures, drawing it out, putting the sidewalk where they should be, doing the drainage, so none of it. So it just, I think that you can stop. If that's my input, we've wasted enough money already. Does the project need some help? Yes, but you lit all 4 inches to these two. And I know you haven't lived there for 57 years. Larry, you have a little bit more time there than I do. It's a lot and it doesn't need it right now. I want to bring a faucet up and make it prettier, but this is not the way it needs to be done. This is just too big, too quick. Took a lot of money. I don't think the town needs to spend that much money. That's my input.
Thank you so much for your input, Mike.
So, the safety issues, just want to clarify that you mentioned that they came too late. Does that mean that the state is going to require something that's going to have to be done, or someone's going to require that something be done, or is it just that there's a concern among the Board of Selectmen that there's safety issues.
Has there ever been an incident? Has there ever been an incident?
So,
Safety incident? Or did anybody
generally-
even check? Nobody.
Generally speaking, because of the study, we've now become aware of safety issues.
But there's never been an incident.
So Mike, thank you. So, I mean, we've essentially been put on notice now that there are safety issues. So now if something happens, we collectively as a group are responsible.
So,
We weren't talking about, or at least, let me rephrase that. I said we, and I didn't mean to collectively put us in that statement. But I wasn't looking at the project as a whole. I believe the project is too expansive, way more than what we need for that downtown area, for that community. I wanted to piecemeal it. I wanted to do it in steps. It sounds like the only way we get the majority of the funding is to go whole project, and that's not the direction I wanted to take. I don't know where everybody else was with the plan, where everybody else was with where we thought we were going, what direction we were taking. But it's an expansive project, and some of it is unnecessary. But the safety issues have now been brought to our attention, and should something,
right, so I think that the other thing, when you talk about expense, I think town needs to think about what the ongoing expense is gonna be, because with new sidewalks, you're gonna have to maintain those sidewalks during the winter time. You're probably gonna have to truck snow out of Aquasic, which as far as I know, the town doesn't do that now. I know they do it downtown Rangeley. But currently, there's a group of people that move snow in Aquasic. I don't know if they charge the town or not, but that's gonna be a big maintenance addition for the town. So you're not just talking about the expense of getting this done, there's gonna be ongoing
yes,
expenses every year.
there certainly is. As with any infrastructure that we implement for the safety of our communities. Chris,
I just had a question, and I guess I'll direct it to you to direct to DOT for us. Is, what's the shelf life of this plan? Since it's a 10,000-foot plan, is this something that it's got a little bit of time? As you know, we're just about to launch into redoing the whole comp plan and some of these other things. So doing an update of the comp plan actually. And so I guess I'm just wondering, what's the shelf life of that? And then the second question I had is with the CDS, I've seen where they've done 100% funding on some things. Is the maximum on this type of project only 80%? Because like for the airport, it was an 80-10-10, and then Senator Collins, who's still the head of appropriations, was able to get us 100% coverage for the airport. So that's why I'm asking those questions. Regardless of the scope, I don't disagree with what others have brought up. I guess my also concern is too, is if DOT is saying there's certain things we've got to do here, does that allow us to go back and open our original agreement we had on the tail end of Cary Road, which we agreed to take that over for a certain amount, and now we're getting told there's certain things that need to be done in order to meet these improvements, to meet these guidelines? Is there additional funding from DOT to help us with that? Because we don't foresee out that way, but generally DOT understands those regs a lot better than we do. So I guess that's why I'm wondering, is there another bite at the apple on our previous agreement for accepting Cary Road, which we did for a very reasonable price? So that's a lot there, sorry.
yeah, that was an awful lot to unpack. Matt, did you catch all of that, and do you care to comment to any of it?
I think I caught it all, and I do care to comment, sure I can respond. So, in order, your first question was about the shelf life of this particular study. It certainly isn't, a year or less. It has some staying power. There are certain elements of it that are sort of time and place as things would change in Aquasic naturally. Perhaps some additional study or feasibility analysis would need to happen, but my expectation would be good for a couple to few years. We certainly honor the scope of what it intended to study. Really, the reason I'm here, I want to expand on my answer a little bit and offer other information, is that the reason I'm here is to sort of offer an opportunity, and it's not by any means an ultimatum or a mandate that you do something. I'm not here forcing the town to make any decision, or implement any one part of the study. It is what it is. We were happy to, partner with the town to, secure a paperwork consultant to do that work. With that, you're gonna remind me of your other questions.
Sure, my question was, with the CDS funding,
Yeah, thank you.
is it only 80-20? Is it possible to petition for 100%?
Sure.
Those type of things.
Funding was where I was going with that. You asked about shelf life of the study, and I meant to answer also shelf life of the money. And it's, as we know, with ongoing, continuing resolutions and sort of the state of things, it's been tough to have a budget and even guarantee that things like congressionally directed spending, the earmarks, or other discretionary programs will even continue to exist. That's really part of the reason this is coming up now, and why I approached the town again to discuss this, because Range is one of the few communities to have finished the study and get across that first finish line. So the pool of towns looking for our support is smaller now than it's expected to be as resources continue to dwindle. I think it's possible that we approach our delegation for additional funding. Traditionally, we're used to seeing programs like this come in at 80-20 or so. We're operating under that assumption. Also, given that we rarely are seeing things 100% as well. I don't know the circumstances with the airport CDS that you received. And the department's position is that with any improvements to anywhere, there would both be a local and state share. So that's sort of how we're approaching that, TBD as we write that final request. And lastly, you asked about specifically the end of Cary Road. I'm not familiar with the agreement you have in place now. I would say, as a general rule, agreed upon situations with that, maybe they are in place, and I don't know if we'd be willing to renegotiate it, but I also don't know the specifics of what the town took over on behalf of the state. So I couldn't speak to that anymore.
That's fair.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Wes, I'm so sorry. I wanted to come back to you. Did you get your answers from reviewing the plan, or did you have additional questions?
It looks like sidewalks are stopping right there at Food's Garage, kinda, right? No, West, there's a lot more.
There's one more
It's
section.
coming all the way
Whole
down to the
section,
water.
yeah.
It's coming all the way down to the water. Yeah,
It's on the back.
that's it. I mean, there's your boat, West, right there. There it is. Frame of reference.
Sidewalks.
And wasn't the Cary Road built wider when they rebuilt that for pedestrian use?
No,
They couldn't because of the
Big.
landowner.
Yeah.
they only have a 3 rod right away. Cary Road. I know, I live on Cary Road.
And this, where does this start at the boat, at the parking lot? It doesn't go all the way to Quonset Village, correct?
No, looks like it is.
No, it's the.
It goes up to the
Parking
parking
lot.
lot.
Parking lot, then
Yeah,
gap,
this is
gap
Cat Mountain Road.
to, right, but then the parking lot's here. Then there's a gap between the parking lot, which is probably one of the tightest spots,
Right.
all the way to, is it Oxford Road? Or, Street? Yeah, so there's that, so there's nothing in between, right?
Correct.
So you're creating attractive uses by doing that?
So
I
can I
didn't
ask,
create anything.
Hold on. Okay, we're reeling this back in. Please don't comment unless you've been recognized to do so. Mike, you had your hand up.
what are the safety concerns?
Gone over
No,
those.
what is it, the people walking, is it the bikes? You haven't said what the concerns are, you just said there are safety concerns that need to be addressed, and that you're liable for it, but I don't understand how, as a selectman, to be liable if somebody got run over. No, honestly, you said you were liable and you need to.
I said
address
we
safety.
could potentially be liable for it, yeah. I mean, Mike, safety isn't something that you postpone for the ideal and
I understand. What are the safety
comfortable future. I
concerns?
mean, it's just,
What
the
are
safety concerns, as far as I could see, were the pieces where we needed to connect for pedestrian traffic. Dennis, were you next, or?
Yeah, I just want to make a statement about the safety issues, then ask a question. The safety issues are that now we have told people, this is where you park your boat and trailer when you want to launch in the lake. And then we ask them to walk in the road to get back and forth to the landing. So the 2 major safety issues we have are getting people from the 2 parking lots to the 2 boat launch areas. You can do that without a $3 million bridge. My other question is, I'm assuming there are no safety issues with the power relocation, that was more an aesthetic thing, so that would not be part of the plan.
It is part of the plan, but not part of the plan that I had any intentions of implementing.
Right, I mean, what is the safety issue with relocating the power?
There wasn't one, Dennis.
Because the way they
wasn't.
have this drawn on here, I mean, I probably don't really understand how power lines go. You can't build really what they're showing here, you know, engineering wise, it doesn't work that well. So anyway.
For which
just-
section are you
Well, I'm just saying
commenting
the
on?
corner where the church is, you know where the church is, they plan on coming down Rankin Avenue, and they're going down Oxford Street. Well, the way they come across the corner there diagonally, you can't do that, because there's no way to hold the poles from falling over. You have to end up putting a pole across the street where that statue is right there. You have to put a pole there, and then down at the fire station, you can see where they come down Rankin Avenue, and then they hit 17. The only way you can hold that three-phase pole is to put a pole right across the road, right in front of the museum. And another pole to hold that three-phase going down 17 over in front of the fire station. I mean, what looks on there is simple to do, is not that simple to do. Plus, with three-phase going down Rankin Avenue, you need to have 8 foot on each side of the three-phase. So you're gonna trim a lot of trees down there. You're gonna open that Rankin Avenue right up. And same with Oxford Street.
Maybe I'm misreading the analysis, but I don't think it's the three-phase power poles. I was under the impression that it was aesthetically pleasing, street lamps, that kind of came from the, downtown revitalization plan that touched on parts of Aquasic as well. I mean-
This plan here shows three-phase power. It actually shows that at the intersection of Franklin Street and Rankin Avenue, putting three-phase underground so that they could feed the store and down the road to the fish hatchery. I mean, it's right on this plan. And three-phase underground is extremely expensive.
Yeah, that's very expensive.
Great, but Joe, did you not address the power piece when you did the recap? That the power piece is not something
Correct. Madam Chair.
feasible, so we're not even looking at
There
it.
are 3 options. I believe Dennis is looking at the one that was not deemed
Not deemed feasible.
unfeasible by CMP, but all of them are very expensive. Let's say, do include.
So the 3 options are not in the packet that you let anybody look at.
They are. yes.
They are.
Right.
But per his recap, he indicated which ones we were not looking at because they were deemed.
Just one more thing to add to that, Madam Chair. None of these power options are in what the DOT is
Exactly. Thank you.
talking about.
Right.
None of those. are included.
That would be extra. The federal government's not going to pay for us to relocate power poles, right?
Larry,
I don't remember at a municipal meeting ever being, this $80,000 ever being approved. But if it was, maybe it wasn't present. I don't remember voting on it. But can we be aware of the fact without bringing such a thing to the public in the future? That's before we spend $80,000 to find out we're gonna open up Pandora's box. Maybe we wanna put some more thought into these projects prior to the project going to the engineer. That's my suggestion.
thank you so much for your suggestion, Mr. Coop. But as you know, during the budget process, all of this is discussed and peeled apart and picked at. And everybody has the opportunity to be at those meetings and hear where every dollar is going. Plus,
Sorry,
any Board of Selectmen meeting where it was voted.
I clearly missed that with them, but a
No,
lot of
that's okay.
projects get started. So a lot of projects around here seem to get started before the ball stops rolling.
Joe,
Madam Chair, can I ask the DOT a question?
yes,
Matt, you told us that the construction of the project could be split 80-20 for CSD. When we talk about the design, is the design baked into that entire amount, or is design something separate that DOT and the town would work on a different arrangement, or would it be the same 80-20?
Yeah, so with a congressionally directed spending program like that, I think our intent, and no, I believe that our intent is to include the future design as part of that project. I think that this is sufficient for a relatively low barrier congressionally directed spending. If we were seeking a much more robust federal funding program, we may be looking for some additional design, which would require additional costs upfront.
Another question, if I know the board's not ready to do this yet, but if the board picks a part or a couple of pieces of the entire project to check forward with, what commitment would the DOT require from the town to submit for that earmark and when?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, so as you may remember from the previous 2 years of commercially directed spending, usually the notice to apply comes out within 2 weeks of the actual applications or 3 weeks from being due. So we're trying to get these ducks lined up now. If the town expresses some interest in the next few weeks to month or two to pursue this, we'd be looking for a resolve from the select board with some support from the community to pursue this together and then work on the application elements as they become available and known in April. As far as the commitment of funding, it could be a commitment in writing. You don't have to have raised the funds in advance of us applying on your behalf with you for a commercially directed spending grant.
Okay. So Madam Chair, the reason I asked that, I just kind of want to walk through the steps, because I think it is critical that the town meeting have a voice in this at some point. It sounds like due to the timing, you know, the resolve from the board of selectmen would be okay for the application, but prior to actually spending any money, town meeting would chime in on this. Just trying to walk through those steps, make sure that it's agreeable to the DOT.
We would respectfully ask that you don't promise to commit something that you don't have, are somewhat sure about raising the funds for.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So the intent of the public hearing is to hear the feedback. We want to hear this information. We want to know what direction is best suited for the plan, if any of it at all. I know that there was discussion by this board to take the question to town meeting about the plan. And I'm not sure, I mean, it's just, that wouldn't fit into the timeline you just gave us.
So it'd be a safe cross.
Sorry, what?
Dennis just said, if we could get people from the public parking to the municipal boat ramp safely, we've solved the problem.
On both ends.
Huh?
On both ends.
They don't park, where else would they park?
No, I mean, both,
She's talking
the,
both boat ends.
both boat ramps.
Oh, you mean on the loose again? You're so tight at Ames Landing, you have to timber things down to do it. You can't even back in there now.
Chris,
Madam Chairman, the CDS is an annual thing, congressional delegate spending, so we might miss this window, but we could down the road. It looks like it's about, if I read here, 524,000 to do the sidewalk from Haynes Landing to the parking lot. I'm guessing probably similar cost from the other one over there, so we're looking at about $1 million for that particular part. CESs aren't the only funding options, but I mean, in this particular administration, they seem to be doing well with it. Well, with that, we've applied for them a couple of times. So the one part that Matt mentioned, and I think that's important, is that we have our ducks in a row on which we want to do, because the worst thing we could do, which would affect other projects in the range of the region, that would maybe go for CDS, if we went and applied for it and then we don't do it. True, the money's gonna go to somebody else, but it's congressional directed spending, so if we get approved for it and then we don't do it, then some other organization that maybe was the next one down on the road, it doesn't really necessarily bump up, it doesn't get spec. Which, some of us who trying to keep our tax bill down might be happy about that, but the bottom line is, it could cripple us in the future if we apply for a different project. Because then it might not have as much, it could be like, oh yeah, we remember range that they applied for this and then back down. So I think it's important if we're going to do that, that we clearly get the scope design. And I'd also like to know, the engineer that did this work there, who did the electrical work, because if there's some things that, Dennis has infinite wisdom because he was in CMP for a long period of time, but I'm a little concerned that he immediately was able to pick out 6 or 7 immediate errors out of that. And we probably paid good money for the engineering stuff that in reality isn't really worth what paper it's written on if those are the issues. Maybe that's just his opinion, but I understand we talk about with attention, and I've dealt with 3-phase a little bit myself, and you do have to have the extra tension and those type of things, and it is extremely cost prohibitive to bear it. So I guess my concern is when we're spending this money that we're also finding out that, you know, if they're producing a result that isn't going to be actually something we could practically use, is it worth it to go back and say, you know what, can you trim up the bill a bit? That's just me because I'm a miser, but I just find if we're not getting practical information, it's kind of hard to feel comfortable paying for it.
Thank you so much for your input. Chris, any further discussion, any further comment from the public?
Yes, it sounds to me like, and maybe you, DOT can straighten this out, that the federal government is not gonna participate in this project unless the project addresses 100% of the DOT's safety concerns. Is that correct?
Not entirely,
So
in,
why,
in that the
why-
federal government has not been approached with this.
right?
Any statement that I've made about what would be participating and what we would participate in is strictly Maine DOT's position on the project. And I want to clarify that ultimately the position is not to cherry pick portions of any plan that don't create a holistically safer system, as opposed to a sidewalk that is only half built, that doesn't terminate in a logical place.
Right, but you're not gonna support the federal government if you don't think DOT safety concerns are being addressed if we tear the plan apart. In other words, you can't come up with a smaller plan that addresses the safety issues that the federal government will still participate.
It really is, so far, the conversation really stops at the state level, and that the state won't participate unless, if an increasingly unsafe condition is being created. By that, I mean, half of a sidewalk.
So the state is the one that's determining the safety issues in this project.
No, the safety issues were determined in conjunction with community support and input by a third-party consultant that was selected by the town to engage in this work. And the department is now saying something similar to what you've heard the board say tonight as well, is that we're aware of these sort of holistic safety improvements that can be made, and to select only certain ones of them that create a further unsafe condition by encouraging pedestrians to walk somewhere and then abandoning them into sort of an open access management situation isn't something the department would support.
I'm Jim Higgins, Hanson Landing. I just two comments, I guess I'd like to make. It wasn't at the very first meeting, but not supportive of a sidewalk down by the landing. So tight down there, so hard for people. We actually help people back their boats in. Canoes and everybody else there, but from Ball Mountain Road in the parking lot, that's my first comment. To support of that, but the scariest part of that whole road, we haven't talked about it all, and that's where sort of that S turn is. I'm going to go from the landing and say walk up to Wes's house or just beyond into town, go where the guardrails are, that elevated section they did all the work on a few years ago. We've pushed some of the grandchildren in baby stroller. I'm ready to take the stroller and jump over the bridge sometimes. People go through that so fast. It's just not safe and it's narrow. We'll talk about sidewalk. Do it, but I mean, that thing should be widened from a safety standpoint for pedestrians. And there's a lot of people I see bike, unless they bike down the landing, they'll bike Ball Mountain Road and they'll bike into through town and runners. And it's just, I know everybody that lives down there that walks that little section, that big turn, I feel like they're taking their life in their own hands. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's comment on Jim. In addition to what you just said, that speed limit should be 25 miles an hour right there. That whole Cary Road. I pushed for that for years. Nobody has done anything about that. I've had children walking up and down that road. It should be 25.
You know what that makes me think of, Wes? I'm sorry, Matt, I'm pointing at you because I just happened to think of this. When I saw the plan and I saw the plan for a crosswalk to come across from the parking lot at the end of 16.
Yeah.
Isn't that speed too high for a crosswalk per your guidelines for implementing a crosswalk?
It may require additional traffic calming measures. The crosswalk, so where that is at that point directly across from the boat landing, I believe it tables down there, it should be 35 in that location. It is the highest the speed limit could be for that crosswalk, but ideally we'd be lowering speeds throughout that end of the corridor. I should say that the implemented plans would intend to lower the speed limit.
Or the speed limit. Any additional comment from the public? Mr. Farmer, anything new?
Yes, just wondering, from a funding standpoint, if IF&W has any options on that, because both of those boat landings are basically assisting in their kind of purview. So maybe there's some opportunities for funding through some of their pieces, or at least collaborate on support.
Not that individual programs, I'm certainly not, I'm sure that they do exist, I'm not familiar with them, definitely could be an option for the town to consider.
Any comments from the board? Sam?
Yes, hypothetically, aside from the village study and speed, excellent. Is there anything that you guys, besides this, that you guys would like to see done in the village?
Yes, a laundry list of things, if we can only meet with our superiors before the engineering starts, so they can show what was.
Well,
Most
just let's
important.
talk here. So what is it?
Well, walk through the community at some point in the spring to say, this is a danger zone, this isn't a danger zone. We've had engineers buzzing around there all year, they don't even know our name. You walk up and say, what are you doing? I don't, just told us to sit here and measure the street 4 times.
Right.
So I measure it 4 times, I give you information. But so we've had no input into this project, none.
You're having
You're
input
having it
now.
right now, and
You're having it now.
that's just the way
None of this plan is moving forward
without, yeah.
without the towns, collectively, the towns, our constituents will decide on this.
We even had a chance to make a decision, we're like, no.
We said, no, we
you
want more
guys here.
input, we want
So
your
I'd really
decision.
love to hear what, and
Seems
please,
that
like,
we're
in
so
a,
excited to have the feds pay 80/20 of a $5 million project. When
that's
maybe
not
a
what I'm asking.
local $500,000
I'm sorry,
project.
that's not what I'm asking. Anybody have like good feedback on what we'd like to see?
You know, just making a comment about what Larry said and what you said, we had a public hearing. We voiced a lot of these same exact concerns that we have tonight. Did the plan reflect those concerns? No.
Yes, it did. There were
It
changes to
reflected
that
the ones
plan.
you wanted to see changed.
No,
It didn't reflect
no.
all the ones we wanted to.
Dennis,
We said no sidewalks back there at that meeting. Remember that meeting?
Well, yes, and we, well, actually in town by the Portage, by Coop's Garage, by, we took away
there were certain
All
locations
these-
where it was expressed that they were not
the bike
feasible.
lanes, I don't see the point in that.
Why is
you
that
know,
stuff still in this thing that you're passing out to people?
I think
There
it's
are crosswalks with lighted signs in front of the Quasic grocery. Why is that stuff still in here?
Those
That
are
was
the
taken
other
out.
options. That's what he's reading.
Yeah, he's reading it in.
Was this
minutes, so tell me
modified
rather
after
than-
that meeting, or is this just the same old thing?
It was
Joe.
modified, Madam Chair, but the feedback from that meeting, which was very useful to all of us, is incorporated, for instance. Now, it should qualify that by saying, not all of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was
It's
just, to
exactly
be
the
fair,
way
I made the same comment Jim did about the 12 Mountain Road, Hayes Landing,
Right.
and that is still in the
Right.
plan.
For instance, here by Coops, it's hard to see there, but that's a stamped. I think I've got the right one. Yeah, that's a stamped sidewalk there. Meaning it's not raised, it doesn't have a curve, it's still to be driven through and plowed and so on.
But what I'm saying is if the power issue is not a safety issue, why is it still in the plan?
So the options and alternatives are given in the document. If you look in there, there are 2 that are thrown out because they're not really feasible for CMP. The option 2 seem to be feasible, but again, it's not part of the.
Yeah, but if you remember the public hearing we went to, I don't remember anybody talking about being in favor of doing anything with power lines. But why is that still in the plan? So what you're saying is that we have a public hearing, we give you ideas, when we come back to another public hearing, you're just giving us the same stuff.
We're not. We took your input, we made changes to the plan. May not have been 100% of your suggestions, but changes were made to the plan. That document is changed per the input. But not 100% of everything that wasn't liked was taken out, Dennis. Just because a handful of folks out of 1,000 registered voters voiced an opinion, we took that into consideration and a lot of changes were made. But we needed to have a document that was viable to take to folks to see, this is a town-wide decision. Aquasic is a village within the town of Rangeley. It will take the constituents of the town of Rangeley, the registered voters of the town of Rangeley, to make this decision. We heard everything you said that meeting. We've heard everything you've said this meeting. We've been very respectful to the process, to your opinions. We've made changes where it seemed we got the most feedback, the most negative feedback of those particular pieces of it. And we moved forward with a plan.
So to answer your question, Sam, I think one thing that I think has been mentioned before, and I'd like to see if there's any way to do it, is to actually find parking in town. So people don't have to walk across that bridge or from somewhere else. I think that would be a huge safety improvement. But also, when you put sidewalks in, you're going to take parking away, so the parking situation is going to get worse. And secondly, and I know this is not a safety thing, and I know that there is some information about it, is to me the town park is really important, and I think the town will get a bigger bang out of its buck by putting money into the town park.
And we are.
Wait, yep, that is in the, thank you so much for that feedback, but it is slated for. It was on a couple of agendas ago, I'm so sorry.
In the spring, I think.
Yes, I think it's spring. Perfect, thank you so much. Any additional feedback? Thank you so much. Again, I do hope you understand that we respect the process and we respect the input. We will take the information forward from here. It is on our agenda to make a decision later this evening. What that decision means is not. I wouldn't walk out of here thinking we're gonna say, let's go with this plan. Because that's not where we are. It's not where we are.
Will there be a town vote on this? Will this go to vote?
That is, through conversations that this board has had collectively, I do believe that is the position we will take.
Okay, and do you think there'll be another meeting on this before it goes to vote, or is this the last meeting we're gonna have?
If it goes on the warrant for town meeting, there will be several meetings on the town warrant. All right, we are going to close the public hearing at 6:15. Thank you again so much for your attendance and your input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for coming down.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move on to the agenda. Any conflicts of interest, please make sure we disclose, folks. Adjustments to the agenda. Mark Edwards, National Resource Council of Maine. Maine Trails, I'm gonna guess it's the gentleman I don't recognize in the back of the room.
Yes.
Just a good guess. All right, did, Joe, was it your intent to have him speak to something here or go ahead and speak to it under 7 at the time of consent item? What's your feeling?
Madam Chair, I would recommend allowing your guests to speak at this time, so that he can get on the road.
Perfect. All right, Mark, please introduce yourself for the record and have at it.
Yes, thank you. My name is Mark Edwards, and where's the best place to stand?
It's free
Okay.
for all.
All right, thank you. And just one kind of correction to the agenda here. I'm from the Natural Resources Council of Maine, not the National Resources Council. So it's the Natural Resources Council of Maine. So I live just down the road in Strong, and I live and work out of my home. And so with the Natural Resources Council of Maine, one of my kind of jobs is regional outreach. So I go all throughout Franklin County, listen to folks, what are their concerns, environmental, natural resources based, and then take that back to our headquarters in Augusta and, tell them what, take the temperature of what's going on out here in rural Maine, so we can hopefully address some of those issues through some of our advocacy and the things that we do. One of the things that we heard while out and about in Franklin County was a real need for funding trails funding trail development, funding trail maintenance, and funding trail design. Maine, and especially this region, and you guys know this well, on both motorized and non-motorized, we're a real leader in our trail networks, ATVs, and snowmobiles, hiking, and so on, mountain biking and skiing and such. A lot of the folks that we talk to, especially in the motorized, well, actually motorized and non-motorized sectors, was especially with snowmobile clubs and ATV clubs, their members are aging out. Volunteers are hard to find to maintain trails. Trails are expensive. ATV clubs and snowmobile clubs get most of the funding through the registrations. I talked to some folks down in Phillips or Kingfield. They only get like I think like $23,000 a year in their budget from these registrations. So they've got major projects that they would like to have done. How can they do that? So one of the things that we in NRCM and others are proposing is a $30 million Maine Trails bond. And this bond would work similar to the Land for Maine's Future program, where, and we've changed, I think I sent out some information. We've tweaked some of that. So this $30 million over 4 years, and it would be a bond, is available for towns, municipalities, snowmobile clubs, other nonprofit organizations. They would be able to tap into these funds for maintenance, development, and other projects to help keep these trails, pristine and, really a jewel in the Northeast. So one of the particulars about this, we changed we were going to have like a 20-80, so a 20% match. But talking to folks out in this part of the world, we dropped that match down to 10% to make it a little bit more affordable for some of these rural communities and rural clubs and such. So it'd be a 10% match. Now the $30 million would be divided up. 50% of that would go to multi-use trails. So trails that include all sorts of uses, multiple uses, obviously, motorized and non-motorized. The other 50% would be dedicated, 25% of it for motorized specific and 25% for non-motorized specific. So snowmobile clubs, ATV clubs, that would be about $1.8 million a year available to tap into with the 10% match. Same with other, if it's a non-motorized specific trail, again, they would be eligible to tap into almost $2 million worth of funding every year. So what we're asking, we're trying to build a lot of support for this. It's enjoyed bipartisan support in the state legislature. Russell Black is on board. He's a co-sponsor of this bill. Jessica Fay is a Democrat. I think she's the main sponsor of the bill. We introduced this bill at the last legislative session last year, but it got pushed to this next legislative session. We have reached out to over, I think right now we've got over 350 businesses, towns, organizations, and other trail groups, businesses to sign on to a sign-on letter that we will then be taking to our legislators to hopefully get them to back this as well. As I'm sure you're aware, it is a bond issue, so we need 2/3 of the state legislature to pass it. Once that bar is met, and then it'll go to a statewide vote. So there are some, steps along the way. We've got Ranger Lakes Trail Center, Saddleback, Ranger Lake Heritage Trust. I think the Ranger Lake Chamber of Commerce is signed on. I sent you a letter, but I realize it's an old letter, so there are some signatures missing. But my reason for coming up here is to answer any questions that you might have. And to hopefully get your support to allow your town manager to sign the letter on your behalf, on the town's behalf. Interesting, as I was sitting here listening to the transportation piece of this, this does allow for funding for active transportation. It does allow for accessible trails. So, if you have any needs in that regard, this funding would be available as well. And we've gotten support from Fort Kent, Fort Kent to Kittery thing, right? But we've gotten support from all over the state. So with that, I would, respectfully request that the select board allow the town manager to sign in support of this main trails bond. And I will be happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public, from our? Thank you so much for the input.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'm gonna take that scary trip down Route 4.
Travel safe, please.
Go slow.
So what, so if the board does vote, you just reach out and I'll send you the link to the sign. We'll be in touch either way. Great.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
folks very much.
Bye.
All right, review and approve the meeting minutes for the November 20th Board of Selectmen meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes of the board, so November 20th Board of Selectmen meeting.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Wendy. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Any public to speak on a non-agenda item? Boards and committees. Was Kate going to be in attendance?
Yeah, she'll have to come to a future meeting. There was a meeting scheduled of the committee last week. It wasn't like forum, so there's not a current update to give the board, but there will be hopefully in the next month or so.
Perfect, no problem, thank you. Oh, I was just here. Oh, shoot. Yep, we could have gotten it from Laura. Somebody go grab her out of the parking lot. All right, and we do have other documents from other boards and committees. RREOC regular meeting May 1st, the Airport Commission September 25th meeting, and the Planning Board's November 8th meeting. Moving on to consent items. The Aquatic Village Transportation Study. All right, folks, what's our pleasure? What are our options again? Wheel?
You just want to have discussion about this, or?
Yeah, that's what I'm opening up for, because we do need to make some kind of move forward, whether it's to table the transportation study, whether it's to move the transportation study to a municipal vote, whether it's to separate the transportation study into pieces and move that to a municipal vote. I mean, we've got a lot to unpack. I'd rather not take on the project without making sure that it's met with municipal vote because of the scale of it, regardless of whether or not I would like to see it broken down in pieces. I know I said that already, but I don't like the project as a whole. We can find funding. I mean, I know it's really appealing to hear 80, 10, 10. You know, and we're only gonna have to cover 10% of the cost, but 10% of a $5 million project.
8 million, the whole
8
thing.
million.
Ah, yes, sorry,
Yeah.
8 million for the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think, it's such a big project, and, if you just kind of pop on your common sense hat, some of the things that are the most tricky elements, in terms of physical landscape are the boat launches themselves, and they're not even addressed. And my concern, and I think I've said this before, is, and I know that Matt was kind enough to answer my question when I asked it a while ago, is federal funding's great, but if it becomes a complete street issue or a grow smart, project that a lot of times what happens is going into the future, you required to, whatever you do down there has to be compliant with that larger law, which can be incredibly expensive, and even residential property. So I think breaking it out, and I really liked what, Chris Farmer brought up, that the CDS is an annualized program. So I think there, like you said, there's opportunities, and if safety is a concern, I mean, peel the onion, do the low hanging fruit would be in the best interest. And, I'd say I know we've all been there, that nobody had notice at the meetings and all that stuff. We hear that a lot, but maybe when it's regionalized, to really get somebody from that community on the initial meeting would be super helpful, going forward. That's just my 2 cents, but I think break it up, and yes, it should go to the warrant. Once we figure out what we think we want to do.
That was my next step. Break it up.
That's what we gotta do first.
We gotta figure out how we're presenting it, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm hearing consensus is not the whole plan.
It's a lot of money, and we could jump all over anything within our tax base and find places to spend money. I would like to see Quasic Village look more like a modernized village. Modernized as in sidewalks, a little more structure to it. It's great that it's been country living for all these years, and Mike Coop likes to say how long he's lived here. I've been here since 1986, and things change. But the short answer is, no, I don't think we should spend all of it. Spend all that money and do the entire project right now. And anything we do, whether it's a piece, the entire thing, 10 times the entire thing, anything we do needs to be voted on by the taxpayers.
I agree, we gotta take the input that we've got. I mean, the folks from the village of Quasic were here for 2 different public hearings that we've had. We've heard their concerns. They're the ones that live with whatever this plan is gonna come forward. Granted, majority of the people in Rangeley, they're gonna vote on it one way or the other, but these guys are gonna live with it, so we need to take into their concerns and move forward with whatever pieces we're gonna present.
Okay. So I'm hearing that this is going to come back in front of us. The plan itself is going to come back in front of us as an agenda item to further discuss which piece of it and iron out which piece of it we want to send to the board, to the next.
That's my feeling.
Mark.
That's kind of what I was thinking and hoping that you want to do is like table it and have a few more workshops on it. And in those workshops, analyze what you've gotten from feedback here and figure out if you're you have a few more steps before you get it to ask the public to approve anything. So if you're gonna go piecemeal, I think you'll need a few more workshops to identify those things and quantify them into a thing that you can ask the public to vote on.
Thank you for confirming my comment. I appreciate it. Absolutely. So do we want to? I don't think we need to table it. We just need to
Schedule a workshop.
Yeah, schedule a workshop.
Mhm.
And in that workshop, I mean, you guys, they could be present, obviously, that's mostly us working on it, getting feedback.
The difference between a workshop and a public hearing is public hearing is for public input, while a workshop is for us to work on it. But we do have, anybody can come and attend. We have been known to take comment during workshops because it helps us. It's a benefit to us while we're reviewing something. So.
Is there a way to delegate, maybe have a few members create, come to us within those workshops, not just have a bunch of voices, but does that make sense? To, speak, with the Coobs and Reynolds and Higgins, maybe.
For Quasic to choose a delegate, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, then
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Mr. Higgins, I'm choosing you because you're here still. He's like, don't get it to me.
Well, just so that there's not so many you
We'll
know,
be
it's
happy to
like,
participate.
just. Great, thank you.
No, I certainly understand what you,
I'm
if
just
we
trying
have
to-
kind of a central with everybody, and I love Larry's idea, I really wish that it would have come up before.
The walkthrough.
Yes, the walkthrough with
Walkthrough, right.
community,
Yeah,
Input.
people who live in the
Right.
community. I really wish it would have come up before.
well, is it too,
because-
I mean, is it not
Well,
too
now he
late?
wants us to wait till spring. Because apparently they're covered by snow, the safety issues are covered by snow, I don't know, he did say wait till spring, didn't
Well,
he?
but we can add on to that and, you know, with any further,
I have no problem, but if we get input in the spring from them, and Matt's not here to verify this, but I'm assuming the state's gonna say that's great, but we need to go back to the engineering phase and take those concerns. And have an engineer come up with a plan, I would think.
Well, therein lies the other issue, or therein lies the other wall that we're gonna come up against. Is you heard Matt say, if we start piecemealing this, there's gonna be more engineering, there's gonna be more.
but we wanna get it right.
We do,
I mean,
we absolutely 100% do,
I don't,
but we need to keep that cost in mind as well, as we take this back to, essentially take it back to the drawing board and say, this is the phase we wanna do.
Right, we're not gonna walk through with Larry and Mike and say, okay, that's fine, let's do this.
Right.
You know, we're dealing with the state and federal government.
Right.
That's gonna work.
Right. Joe, go ahead, sorry.
Chair, some of these things can be fleshed out during the design phase.
Mhm.
The feasibility study has kind of done the groundwork, but if you're more focused in items or things that weren't necessarily covered in detail there, they can come out in the design phase of each section that you choose, if you decide to do it in segments. So that the feedback portion is really never over with the public.
No.
You always should have that line of communication open. So I would offer you that it's, you haven't shut the door on here to the public at this point. You can still move forward and keep that door open for communication. You don't have to go back to square one. I guess that's my advice, is you don't have to start from scratch. I wouldn't recommend that you start from scratch. You're gonna lose.
Yeah, no, and I'm so sorry if anything I said indicated I thought we had to start from scratch. That was not what I was intended to imply, so I'm sorry if I did. Jim,
Can you, so Chris's comment about the funding that could reoccur again annually, CPC, that is.
Congressional.
congressional delegate,
Right, so.
spending.
I
I
mean,
couldn't-
so that, you know, we might be able to get to 80-20 on a smaller project, right? So that's what I interpreted that to mean.
There could be other grant opportunities. I mean, we're talking sidewalks. You mean sidewalks are safety, there could be safety grants
Okay.
available
Thank
for
you.
the sidewalk portions of the project. I mean, there are other funding options available. While in theory, like I said, it's great to hear, we're only gonna have to pay 10% of a project cost. It's fantastic to hear, but when it's that scale of a project. And when we can look at it and do what's best for the community as a whole, it just makes more sense for us to kind of push this out. So, any feeling on when?
Probably next year, considering we have a workshop at our next meeting, right?
Yes, yes, we do. So January, the first meeting in January?
I think we have something on that.
Yeah, you have the
Oh, that's right.
comprehensive plan.
Yep, the comprehensive plan.
It's like the 16th,
How about the second meeting in January?
15th.
16th,
yeah.
is that?
You are correct.
Oh, it's the holiday Monday.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
16th.
yeah.
2 Tuesdays.
Oh, look at us go. 2 Tuesdays in January. Okay,
Tuesday. 16.
Tuesday, the 16th. If we can put that out in newspapers, where, Amanda, if we can get that on the chamber website, in the newspaper, Mark, whatever affiliation you have right now with the newspaper or anything, please push that. Jim, bullhorn, through a closet, please.
A lot of time.
Madam Chair, what time will that be due?
I'm thinking 5:30. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
5:30?
Thank you.
Thank you. Event permit, Karen, I'm so sorry. Is that what you're here for, hon? Let's get to that.
Make a motion to approve the event permit. Event permit for the Monmouth Festival.
Motion by Jim, second by Sam. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the event. Such a fantastic one. I'm gonna bump in the, yep.
Pending liabilities.
Oh, is it pending? Yep, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna, Jim, are you
Motion to
amend-
modify my motion to include pending
Pending
certificate.
liability or
certificate of
certificate of
liability.
insurance?
Brad shall have that meeting by Jim.
Thank you so much. All those in favor of the amendment? Okay. I'm gonna tuck in the, everybody remember the adjustment? Mark Edwards. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion for the town manager to sign the letter for the Natural Resource Council of Maine, mail trails bond.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Ethan. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Wouldn't that be a nice bond?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. On to appointments. It looks like we have 3 folks.
Motion to approve, Kelly Law for the budget committee term ending 6/30/26.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Ethan. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Motion to approve Kathleen Johnson, budget committee, term ending 6/30/26.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Ethan. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Motion to approve Cindy Egan, budget committee term ending 6/30/26.
Motion by Jim, second by Ethan. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That 2 is unanimous.
That's full now, right?
There's a quorum now, Madam Chair. It's not
Yeah.
full, but there is a quorum. They can operate.
That's great.
So excited. Perfect, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, moving on to Municipal Trail Grant and Aid Program. Looking to have Libby appointed as the project director.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Ethan. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Now looking for a motion to authorize the town manager to sign.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Ethan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Perfect. Let me get through all that paper. Phew, lots of paper. Okay. Route 4 safety concerns. Authorize the town manager to forward to MDOT. Joe, would you like to give a rundown of the safety concerns presented to you?
Sure, Madam Chair. So, Mr. David Douglas, who's road commissioner of the Highlands Overlook Landowners Association, touched base with me probably a month or so ago, stopped by to see me. I said, I asked him to please follow up with this correspondence, which he did. The area that he's concerned about is on Route 4 south of Dallas Hill. Goes that way about a half a mile or so. In his correspondence, he's concerned about the speed limit. He's requesting if there can be an engineering safety assessment done. Typically what happens is these requests are made of a municipal official, and the municipal official passes them on to Maine DOT. I have already discussed this with the traffic engineer. Last week I did that. He's seen it, but I need the formal blessing to pass it along to him. So it's that half a mile area section. Concern is that roads coming in and out with the side roads coming in and out. Have safety concerns about cars passing. There's a passing, at least one passing zone. So he's asking if the DOT could take a look at that and one of the municipal, the town be aware of it. It's the DOT that would handle it.
Make a motion to authorize the town manager for David Douglas's letter to the DOT.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Sam. Any discussion? I saw a hand.
No, I'd just like to disclose that I'm on the board and live in the Highlands, and this is, well, and just driving that every day, I mean, it is, I honestly didn't even think about it until he wrote the letter, and then I'm watching like, oh my God, I mean, it's just, it is, needs to be looked at, the passing zones, so.
Thank you so much. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It is unanimous, Joe.
No,
Oh, whoa, sorry. Not unanimous, I apologize. I'm slacking on my job. I'm so used to it. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Sir.
Chair Conley, what?
don't see the need for it.
All right. Correspondence, rural trauma. Oh, this is a follow-up to the conversation Wendy shared with us at the last meeting, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
I just thought it might be interesting, especially in consideration of, the concern we have in the community about access to trauma care and emergency care. And he's got a vested interest in Rangeley, and he's on a state board, so there could be funding, for something that would benefit Rangeley. I mean, who knows? He would know.
Okay. So does he have a time that it looks like he'd be very happy to speak before the board about rural trauma and rural healthcare in general? He's looking initially for just kind of an informal conversation.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And I let you or, Joe figure out the scheduling whenever it fits, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention more than anything else that it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, perfect. Joe, is that something you want to reach out to Mr. King and see what may work into his schedule and see how we could fit it into a future meeting?
Sure.
Thank you. That would be great. Thank you for that information. Thank you. Old business. Thank you. Do we really not have any old business? We're just burning through it. Do we really not have any old business? Okay.
What was it? What was it?
No new business? Going once, going twice? Okay. Town manager report.
I do have a couple of things, Madam Chair, that
Yeah.
they're not printed in your documents, but they're follow-up to the last meeting. Tracy reached out and got the contact person at Saddleback regarding the employee housing. That is Amber Gray at saddleback.com. We have her email address. We do not have the protocol for getting signed up. I'm not sure that they even have that yet. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know that for sure, but she is the contact person. If somebody's looking, send an email or call her at Saddleback Housing. Second item, I reached out to my contact for NIMS 402. He was out of the office, and I haven't heard back from him yet. But when I do, I'll schedule attempt to schedule a workshop with you folks. If that doesn't work, I'll find an alternative. So those are two follow-up things I wanted to close the loop on.
No, thank you so much. Nothing on the calendar or any, oh, it's the holidays, that's why.
Holiday season.
All right, other business, monthly financials provided, any select board communication? Sam?
Tis the season, and it's, I'd like to be able to host another town office Christmas party at Moose Alley. If we could pick a date that works for people who come. I know everybody's schedules is busy and just want to be able to put something on the calendar and see all your smiling faces.
That's nice of you. I'm always available for a party.
Yeah.
Diane, we're going once, twice, how many times are we doing this?
So I guess that just leaves a date that you would like to maybe.
Should I reach out to you directly and set that up?
Sure.
The board would be invited too.
Of course, yeah, I don't know what days, who's busy, what do you got going on? Obviously, where are we at? So it's the first week, maybe. I mean, I feel like the week prior to Christmas is hectic for everybody, so that next week is. We've got.
You do it weekdays, Sam?
It was a
You do it on a
weekday.
weekday?
What, I mean, I guess that whenever, honestly, it doesn't matter. I mean,
I think it was a weekday.
it was a weekday, but it can be a week, it could be a weekend. I don't know what's easier for peeps.
What is it?
I took the 15th, so we got it. Just throwing that out.
Negotiations. So maybe the 13th or.
13th is good. I have a party on the 12th, so. Just busy.
Is a weekday okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Are you zoning those?
I have something on the 13th.
Yes, you do, a Christmas party.
Put it down now.
Or the
Goat
19th,
yoga.
what about the 19th, that's a Tuesday,
So what if you work with both of those dates, 13th or 19th?
19th, 20th, those are all good.
Thank you.
What if you give like 2
19th
dates?
good for you?
Yeah, but try 2 dates and whatever seems to be, but honestly, I'm pretty free.
You gotta be there.
So awesome, thank you for all being
Thank you.
excited about it.
Thank you.
Should we
Thank
bring
you so much.
things? What should we do?
I don't know, I kind of just cater it and bring your appetite,
So it's
bowling
the 19th?
competition, you know?
We don't know just yet. He has to double check with the office staff.
But we can, yeah, maybe.
We've thrown out a couple of
Desserts,
dates.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe some little snacks, yeah.
Cool, thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we bring in like a bottle of wine for the host or can you not bring in?
You can gift things.
You can get.
Okay.
No, you can't.
Not for me.
Put it in a bag with a bow.
You can let the car, you know, in.
Perfect, okay. We have no executive session this evening, correct? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
You got that, right? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
You know his mom.